All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fans Union for the fans by the fans. Um, got my two lovely co-hosts, Trip, Logan. What's going on, fellas?
How
What
we
up? What
doing?
up?
Man, we got a lot to talk about, boys. Not a ton of topics, but very dense topics to say the least. Um, so we're gonna go ahead and I guess get right into it. First, everybody have a good day. You guys excited to be here?
Oh yeah, I'm just ready to talk about all the things we've been texting about for 4 days now.
I know, right?
All the things I got you guys arguing with me about on purpose at Trip's house just to be funny. There's nothing better than looking at Brady and going, "You want to see me get them riled up?" And then bringing up AJ Brown versus AJ Green. It was hilarious.
I thought that was random.
Yeah, I was like, Brady, watch this. I'm gonna get them riled up.
You didn't get us riled up in the beer drinking contest though. I think me and Trip won that one.
Hey, I got a little bloated on that one. You guys also had like an 8 beer head start, so it was no fun for me just being the sober one trying to catch up.
So just catch up, duh.
Yeah, what?
My fault.
And half the time drink double the beer. Come on now. I'm no geometrist, but sound like an angle to me.
What's the angle?
Yeah. So well, fellas, I guess so we're gonna get into a little bit of summary from conference championship week and then get into the huge playoff release that has a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And then we'll get into looking at maybe the Heisman prediction. So now, do we, as Trip and I being Georgia fans, do we go ahead and get into the Georgia game first? Or do we really get into what was the biggest game of the weekend, which was Indiana and Ohio State?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that to y'all, brother. Whatever you want to do. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, don't go check your mail.
I definitely think that some of the other games are worth touching on.
For sure. Kennesaw State, who?
Yeah, shout out to Owls.
I was gonna say, like, if we don't have to go in order by any means, but I did want to give KSU a shout out. That was a huge win for a team that was projected to only win 2 games all year long and goes on to win their conference. That's big time.
Yeah, honestly, I got some enjoyment out watching the G5 games, whatever you want to call them. Tulane, that Tulane score looks a lot closer than it actually was. I think it was 31-7 at one point. It just looked ugly in the end. It got prettier in the end, I guess. I wonder where Drew Mestamaker is going to transfer because he's gone, right? Like, there's no doubt he's going.
How many years has he got left?
He's a true freshman.
A lot of eyes on that kid.
I will say this. Funny post that I seen about the KSU game and the KSU turnaround. Somebody posted and was like, damn, Kennesaw State was really locked in on all of our rebuilds last year on NCAA.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I was like, that's hilarious, dude. Because they really did. I mean, 2 wins to win in the conference just like that. That's what all of us did last year on college football. So that's hilarious.
But me, I would have made it easy on the easy game mode and then go ahead and had a 10-win season that first season.
No, let me tell you, the first road to glory player I made on that game when it came out was a quarterback for Kennesaw State, and those receivers could not catch nothing. I deleted that shit probably 3 weeks into playing it. I swear to God.
That's crazy. I had KSU in the ACC after like 7 years. I went deep into my KSU dynasty.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I want a KSU helmet.
Yeah. Speaking of, Andre was supposed to get me one last year. He's like, I got you. We're switching equipment. I've never seen it.
Yeah, we're going to have to call him out about that one.
Yep, I just did.
Yeah, that's true. Fair point. Looks like and then Boise State ended up winning their game against UNLV, so they're respective conference champs. I'll tell you what was the thriller that we got to watch the end of was that Duke and Virginia game.
That was a hell of a game.
Yeah, that was a fun watch right there.
I will say this. I did not have on my bingo card for Duke and Indiana to win football conference championships like 15 minutes apart.
It's absolutely bonkers.
That's crazy.
Isaiah Thomas and Grant Hill are so thrown off right now.
Yeah. Shout out to the NILs, right? I don't know if they got a part in Duke's, but.
And then got BYU, which some we'll get to in a little bit, gets their doors blown off, and Texas Tech does a repeat of what they did in the regular season. I can't think of that kid's name. That linebacker from Texas Tech who had the 2 picks, he should have had 3. Dude threw what's his name? Backmeyer. That's it. Threw 2 Stevies, actually 3 Stevies, right to him, and they just that defensive line did what it does. I mean, you force 4 turnovers, it's gonna be hard to lose a game. 8 for 19 on 3rd down, and outgain them by almost 200 yards. Yeah, you're gonna win most of those games. So Texas Tech, I don't know how much I believe in them, but I believe that defensive line is for real. And it was fun watching them get after it on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, they've got one of the better defenses in the college football playoff right now. I don't think they have like a top 3. Like, obviously, I think Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia probably have the 3 best right now as like how they're playing and the talent that's on there. But that Texas Tech team is good enough to beat people. I think that when people are talking about Oregon going on to that second round and playing them, I think that game's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, I definitely think Texas Tech is better. But I think ideally, if you look at the 4 teams with the bye week, Texas Tech is definitely the one that everybody's kind of like licking their lips. Like, okay, that's the easier one. Everyone knows Georgia's battle tested. Everyone knows Indiana now has a win over Oregon and Ohio State. I would consider that battle tested. And then Ohio State, I don't know if they're really battle tested. They beat Texas early on. I think them and Texas are completely different teams at this point. Like in the season, I think game 1, neither one of them looked great. But, I mean, they do got a Texas win. And on top of that, I mean, playing Indiana, they didn't look bad. They kind of beat up on Michigan. It was a rivalry game. It's always hard to do that in a rivalry game. So, I think Ohio State's got a lot of talent. I don't know if I would necessarily say battle-tested, but maybe more so than Tech. Tech really hasn't played anyone but BYU. But they are the reason why BYU is not in the playoffs. So
I'll say for the battle-tested narrative, you're right. But if there's one thing that can overcome that in a time like this, it's the talent that they have, especially at so many key positions, which we'll allude to a little bit. But I guess let's go ahead. Let's dive into that game a little bit. What I noticed was these defenses both played like who they really are, and by default, the offenses did not. So I was looking at some numbers earlier. So Indiana is 4th in the country in points per game allowed, and Ohio State is 18th. They're both in top 10 in least points per game allowed. And I believe they were, or is that? No, I'm sorry. In offensive points per game, Indiana's in the top 5, and Ohio State's top 20. And both of these games, you saw those defenses both prevailed. Obviously, this game took a really big swing after that missed field goal by Ohio State. Classic. couldn't script it up any better, except the one from the Chick-fil-A Bowl was 20 yards out or 50 yards out, something like that, and this one was about 15. So, God, that was brutal, and they never really recovered from that. But
wasn't that with like 2.5 minutes ago though?
I think it was. Was it that?
It was their last drive of the game.
Yeah, I would say I think that was I don't think that was a turning point. I think that was pretty much it was over after. Yeah, field goal was missed with 2:48 left. It was at the end.
Oh yeah, I'm just an idiot.
Because Indiana got the ball and
but that really maybe more so what I mean by that is that was the moment where it was like, whoa, like I know Trip had Indiana winning, but I think that was the moment most people was, because I think the whole time you're kind of thinking, given the pedigree, the talent of Ohio State, you're thinking like, okay, they're just going to figure it out. Like, this is Indiana, they're Ohio State. What'll happen will happen. And then when they miss that field goal, it's like, oh, hold on now. Indiana might actually win this thing. And then they find a way to carve that game, show some attitude, grind the rest of the clock out, and leave as Big Ten champions. So shout out to Indiana. Now we got 2 Heisman finalists out of this. I wasn't really mesmerized by either one per se. I did like a lot of the Mendoza made some really, really big throws that ultimately preserved drives, put points on the board, and made enough winning plays to walk away. So, shout out the Hooters. Shout out the Hoosers.
John Daly over here, Jesus Christ.
And the good old Sig 10. Hey, I'll give Hooters a shout out. I ain't hesitating to do that.
I think one thing I always enjoy is in these big games, like it always seems like you have that one guy that steps up that you maybe haven't heard of. For me, I haven't heard of this guy at Indiana. For all I know, he could be a 1,000-yard receiver. I have no idea. But obviously, when you hear Indiana, all you're hearing is Mendoza, Mendoza, Mendoza. But then you have Becker. I think he went for like 120 yards. But talking about that last drive after Indiana got the ball back, I mean, Ohio State's defense forced a 3rd and 6 pretty quick, like 2.5 minutes to go. So like 30 seconds into the drive. Obviously, they're burning timeout, saving time. But Mendoza threw that ball up to Becker. It's like his 3rd big catch of the game. It was like a 30-something yard. Hold on, I just was on it. It was a 33-yard catch with 2.5 minutes left, and that first down is pretty much what helped seal it because then they're able to take the 2-minute timeout. Then you end up getting Ohio State out of timeout. You're able to milk a lot of clock. Eventually, yes, they punted, but you left them like 13 seconds left. So you didn't leave them a lot of time to do much. And I think that big 3rd down conversion by Indiana late in the 4th, I think that was honestly the dagger right there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple really big key points in this game that could have been a really big momentum swing for both sides. I mean, Indiana missed a really short field goal early in the game as well, which would have had them, an even bigger lead. And that Ohio State kick that they missed was to tie the game, not to take the lead or anything. So the ball still would have gone right back to Indiana to give them a chance to drive down and win it. So who would have known what would have happened, rather than trying to just run the clock out. But I don't know I haven't seen really a whole lot of people talking about this. The first drive of the game, Mendoza got smacked.
Oh, yeah. By, what's his name? Carey?
92. That
Curry.
Going crazy.
Curry, yeah. He had 2 sacks. Monster game from him.
Dude, he was in the backfield every other play, it felt like.
That was such a huge hit. And I remember my immediate thought was, holy crap, this kid might go down for the rest of the game. Like, he was laying there flat on his face. And one of the coolest parts is Mendoza's older brother got to come in and take a couple snaps while he caught his breath. I thought that was cool. Yeah, I mean, Jeremiah Smith had a hell of a day. Carnell Tate had a decent day. Both sides of the ball really, although the defenses were the big standouts, both offenses really looked balanced. A lot of run, play action, a lot of balls in the air. I think the biggest plays I think the biggest one was Jeremiah Smith. There was a pretty deep ball thrown to him at one point. But overall, I mean, these are the matchups that we wait to see at this time of the year. I think these are 2 teams that could very well end up playing each other again for a national championship. Both big enough and, good enough to win a national championship. So I know we're going to get into Heisman predictions later, but this was a Heisman game right here to try to see who is going to take the top.
I'm looking at the second half possessions for Ohio State and bringing back some again, a little bit of a hazy night due to some beverages. But I'm looking here. I mean, Ohio State, they've got the ball for a 12-play, 6.5-minute drive, turnover on downs. And then their next possession is the missed field goal, which was 15 plays, 81 yards, 8 minutes. And when you have 2 long possessions like that and you don't score, I mean, you're really putting your teams back against the wall.
Ohio State went for it twice on 4th down in the red zone and didn't get it, right? I'm almost positive that they were like inside the 10 at one point, went for it on 4th down and didn't get it, and they did it again at another point in the game and didn't get it.
They only had 1 turnover on downs.
Okay, maybe it's just that one that I'm thinking of then.
I mean, you go the whole field and for 8 minutes and miss a field goal. That feels like missing a
No, I think what it was is that it was the 3rd down play that looked like a first down, but really Indiana stopped them, and that's what led Ohio State to kicking the field goal instead of getting the first down.
Yeah, they got called back. Satan's QB sneak.
Yeah, because that was kind of I can't believe they called that one back. That one blew me away.
Same. Yeah. Overall, probably the game of the weekend. That was a hell of a game to watch, even though like half the time I was watching it like this.
That he was.
Well, I mean, like we said, I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about Georgia dominating here in a second, but this is kind of the statement of the weekend, being that, hey, we're Indiana, we're a basketball school. I mean, we were a basketball school 30 years ago, but I mean, Cignetti's been here for 2 years, lost 1 game, and is now the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs. Is this probably the most impressive coaching job ever?
Yeah. But and I'm not saying this to be biased, aside from the back-to-back national champions in Georgia, that's probably about as impressive as it gets. But from where he's taken this program and gotten it to where it's at now, like as far as building one up, it's not even close.
Yeah, it's two different things right there, right? Because you got a team who you turn from nothing to a contender in one season, get them in the playoffs the first season. Kirby's just built a monster, so it's a different thing. But
I think
the quick turnaround here is mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between what Signetti's done and what Kirby's done is Kirby kind of took over a team and got him over the hump, where, like Joey's saying, Signetti took over a team that was in the dumps. One got over the hump, one got out of the dump. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest difference.
That was catchy.
I wanted to touch on something Triple about the injury. I don't know how y'all felt, but when I see that injury and he's sitting there and, like, my first instinct is, like, it's going to be this game. Like, it's going to be one of those moments in sports.
Yeah.
Ohio State's finally going to get tested. We're all hyped up for this big game. And then there's a quarterback that goes out. And it's kind of like the Game 7 of finals last year. Everybody's hyped for it.
Literally, just about to say that.
Very beginning, Therese Halliburton's popping off. And then it's like, oh, blows the Achilles. It felt like it was about to get that vibe where it's like maybe Indiana would claw and, like, hang in there but lose. And then I was so glad to see him come back in. And I will say there was an interview, I can't remember if it was a McAfee show or something like that, but he's talking about that hit, and I kind of enjoyed watching him talk about that hit, and kind of like you could see the competitiveness. He's like, you weren't getting me out of this game. Like, I was coming back in this game no matter what. And I think he actually referenced the Jeff Brom thing or the XFL, like if I have a pulse, I'm getting in. So I really like that, especially after seeing the post-game interview. That shit made my skin crawl. Maybe I'm a hater, but that was very cringy and hard to watch.
That was brutal.
And then when I see the Pat McAfee interview, I'm pretty sure it was McAfee. When I saw that interview, I was like, okay, maybe this guy's not too bad. But then there's also the Cal one where he takes them to the bowl game. They beat Stanford last game of the season. And he's crying. And I'm like, dude, you're crying getting your team bowl eligible is crazy. And
he's passionate, man.
I mean, I guess, but it looks like he should be he looks like he should be BYU's quarterback, you know? I'm just saying.
Fair enough.
I appreciate the passion, though.
But these end up now, Ohio State and Indiana, the number 1 and 2 seed in the playoffs. So, again, after the Georgia game, we're going to get in that a little bit more. But let's go ahead and get into the Dawgs, baby. I mean, I finally got around to picking Georgia to win last week. And like I was saying, part of my rationale, Georgia was trending up. Bama was trending down. Both teams were not the same team that we watched play in that national championship. That matchup early in October. And Georgia comes out the gates firing early, puts their foot on Florida's neck. Why can I not talk at all? Puts their foot on Bama's neck, and then after that is just no looking back. Final score 28-7.
I think I know why you can't talk, because it did feel like it was Florida, the way y'all put the foot on the neck.
You know what?
Just saying.
Fair enough.
It felt like a Georgia-Florida game, not a Georgia-Bama game.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, it didn't feel real, even at the end where, they have that. I don't ever want to undermine anything, I guess, but like, DeMello Jones, Georgia's cornerback, kind of gifts them 30 yards in penalties. That ends up leading to a touchdown, but nevertheless, Georgia and, the fan in me was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. But the pessimist in me is like, God, I don't know how I feel about this Georgia offense. I mean, the thing that they did, they executed every gimme. Every time that they had ideal field position, they punched it in. And that's what football's about. But in my back of my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, we hadn't drove down the field once. What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And I hate getting like that because, I mean, this is, one of the bigger wins of Kirby Smart's tenure, I feel like, especially this game, SEC championship game being so huge. But, I mean, Ty Simpson, he looked like he was in no man's land the whole game. That Georgia pressure that they put on Alabama in the first game, Alabama just had a brilliant game plan for it. Finally started getting through. Georgia had, I think that I wrote it down somewhere. I think they ended up with 4 or 5 sacks. But it felt like Ty was running for his life every play. That running game, -3 rushing yards, non-existent. And the receiving room, also equally unimpressive. Jeremy Bernard, it's funny because he led the whole game with 62 yards, but I think it would be incorrect to say any receiver played a bigger role in that game than one Zachariah Branch. Just an absolute game breaker. And it's just that life that he's put into the Georgia offense was so needed. And now, I mean, Georgia's SEC champ. So got a few more things, but I want to let you guys go ahead too.
Logan, you want to go for it?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I'll get sandwiched between the two homers. So actually, Joey's not being very homerish right now, which is crazy. So yeah, the short field thing definitely played a factor. I think that was huge in Georgia. But it kind of reminded me of I'll never forget Hugh Freeze's introduction to Ole Miss. He talked about offense, just lighting the scoreboard up, pedal to the metal the whole time. Defense, pursuing the football and knocking the ever-living crap out of everybody with the ball. And then special teams providing the winning edge. That's literally what y'all did. I mean, y'all didn't score a ton as far as pedal to the metal offense, but the defense and special teams really checked the boxes. I truly believe special teams provides the winning edge. Kirby said it kind of reminds me. Sarkisian said it before the Texas game that special teams is going to play a factor. Kirby says it before the SEC championship. And if you look, those are two games who had pivotal turning points on special teams. The block punt was crazy. ESPN needs to lay off the whole every 3 minutes of the game. We're going to show that they're 17-0 when they block a punt under Kirby Smart.
Yeah, that was fun.
We heard you the first 37 times. I appreciate it, ESPN, but calm down, buddy. Let's calm that down. But Gunnar Stockton looked good. I mean, he was 20 of 26, only 156 yards, but a lot of the time it was short field. 3 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, when you're getting handed field position like Georgia is, he doesn't need to have a 300-yard game. What he needs to do is take care of the football and get the ball in the end zone. He did it 3 different times. So I think Gunnar Stockton, on the numbers-wise, maybe doesn't jump off the page, but I thought he played a pretty sound game. Y'all's running game looked pretty good. Nate Frazier's a beast. He doesn't go for nothing crazy in this one, but he had some big runs, some big physical runs. Obviously, Bowens gets a big one to kind of clinch it at the end, which was a 3-score game, but it really sealed the deal there. I said going into this game, for Bama to win, I thought that Ty Simpson needed to do something with his legs, kind of like he did against Auburn, because their run game struggled all year. Their leading rusher has 11 yards. Their second leading rusher, 10 yards. I think it was -3, right? Wasn't it -3 rushing yards?
Yeah, -3 rushing yards.
Yeah, so, I mean, Bama's, like I said, it's their run game, but I think their offensive line is not all that. I think that's their biggest problem. I mean, Ty Simpson goes 19 of 39. One of the things that was best about him all year is how efficient he looked. Like, he was very efficient for 8 straight games there at one point, 9
He didn't make a single wrong decision, it felt like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I want to interject real quick because you said something earlier. Gunnar Stockton doesn't have to have the 300-yard game when you have the ideal field position. Right. I think that's Alabama's problem is they've got to have that kind of game to beat anybody worth their salt.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely plays a big factor, but I was just surprised that from the jump, I felt like it was Georgia's game, like literally, especially after that block punt. After that block punt, everything was just Georgia, and I just never felt like there was even a sliver of hope for Bama, if I'm being honest. Like, it was 21-0 at one point. It was 21-7. They go for it on 4th down, and not only did they go for it on 4th down, they're down, 2 scores at the time, 8 minutes to go. I think going for it wasn't the worst decision. I think the worst decision was you're throwing it to the out of bounds line. You're throwing it to the sideline, but you're throwing it to the long side of the field. So it's like a 25-yard pass for 2 yards, but it's just the angle that he took. I don't know. It seemed like there could have been a lot better play call. I'm not necessarily mad. Maybe Kiffin over the years has kind of, had me adopt the mindset of go for it on 4th down, but I wasn't mad at going for it. It was just a play call. You're throwing a 20-yard pass. What are we doing? It's not 20 yards downfield, but you guys get what I'm saying. Throwing it to the long side.
Yeah, no, that's like
really
a 25, 30-yard throw. I mean, you're in the middle of the field throwing it to the sideline.
And on top of that,
it's 50 yards
across. Yeah, he overthrew it, though, so he didn't even give his guy a chance to go get it. But I don't know. I thought that play call was pretty rough.
And honestly, my thing about that, Logan, is because I know you said it when we were watching it, I thought it was completely bogus to go for it because you've got a team who anytime that they've started on the 50 have scored, and they have not proven the ability to drive down the field the whole game. Make them prove it to you. Instead, Georgia scores in 4 plays.
I wonder if I agree. I hear you for sure, but I wonder if it's in the back of DeBoer's head. If I punt this, they're going to send the Dogs. Like, does it play a factor, the block punt previously?
That's true, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it did, but it kind of makes you wonder, like, is that in the back of his head? Because, I mean, it's obviously completely over if they block another punt. Like, momentum's already all Georgia, but if they would have blocked another punt, it would have been all – I mean, I'm not saying that was in the back of his head, but that is something that you kind of maybe have to consider in that situation. But once again, over the last 6 years, and Hugh Freeze honestly went for it on fourth down a good bit too. So for the last 10 to 15 years of my Ole Miss fandom, we've had coaches who have big nuts and go for it on fourth down all the time. So maybe I'm just more accustomed to it and don't really second guess going for it as much as a lot of other teams. But I don't know. I think play calling could have been a lot better on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we touched on this a lot into the preview of this game on last week's episode, but this Georgia team just continuously gets better and better and better every week. And, I think that a lot of success in the playoffs comes with who's playing good right now. You can look at an entire resume of football, and this is, what we'll get to next when we talk about who got snubbed and all these things. I don't know if the best 12 teams are in, and I won't go too deep in that because we're talking about Georgia right now, but Georgia is playing like one of the best teams in the country right now, all the way around. I mean, it was just clean football. Really, until DeMelo's couple penalties there that gave him those 30 yards, I think we had one penalty the whole game. So clean football when it comes to penalties. Special teams look great. Offense looked good enough just to, get what we needed to get done. But this is the first game, if not one of the only games we can say all year long that the defense outperformed the offense. Aside from Georgia Tech last week when the offense just looked absolutely abysmal other than the run game, we were just all over the field. I mean, they could not move the ball to save their lives. With the turnover, the block punt, everything, it was just – I was in awe. I'm like, this is the Georgia defense that we're used to seeing every year, is flying around the field, sacking the quarterback, forcing turnovers, and we haven't gotten that until really the last couple weeks of this season. So it's good to see that, Kirby's got these boys in 100% form right now. A couple of things that I wanted to make sure to touch on stat-wise for this game. So when it comes to the percentage of the snaps that were played by the different classes in this SEC championship, on offense, 27% of snaps were taken by freshmen.
This is both teams or Georgia?
This is just Georgia. On offense, 27% of the snaps were taken by freshmen. On defense, 25%. If you look at the total players that played on offense and defense by class, freshman 18, sophomore 9, junior 12, senior 8. So this team is, like we talked about early on with all of our complaints in the first couple of weeks about Georgia and even sometimes in the middle of the season, this team is very green. But they have seemed to figure things out and playing as a unit, which I'm loving seeing. The only other thing that I was going to touch on, and mainly because Graham's not here to be able to, talk about the things that he touched on last week, he said Ellis Robinson was going to be the X factor in this game. 39 coverage snaps, targeted 3 times, 0 catches allowed.
Hey, that dude's turned into a blanket.
Yeah, he has definitely continuously grown this season. And I love, I know that when people think about Georgia defenses, you think about these overpowering defensive linemen, these big-time linebacker names that, sack the quarterback a lot. But I love seeing good coverage by corners a lot. And maybe that's just because I'm spoiled. I'm so used to seeing good defensive linemen and linebackers for so long that it's a little bit of a change. But he really has been showing out big time, and I don't think it's even an argument that he's probably the best corner on this team right now. So excited to see how the playoffs go for Georgia, but I think if they continue to play this hot, it's going to be hard to lose.
I was looking to see if maybe I could find a accurate mock draft for 2027 that had Ellis in it. But yeah, it was just, this team's depth is really scary. On defense, and I don't want to turn this into we were so injured because both teams were battered. But, you've got Jonell Aguero out on nickel safety. Rashawn Dinkins, freshman, steps in, plays out of his mind. Kyron Jones starting safeties out. And then Ja'Cory Thomas has the game of his life, ends up having a sack too. And that sack, I feel like that really kind of catapulted the defense to really putting their foot on everything. Zion Branch is out. there's a lot. Jordan Hall's out. There's so many key guys on that defense, but this is where that recruiting and that depth that they develop is what's going to push them over the edge. It's just you're in the if you're a Georgia fan, and you've probably heard this before, you're in the good old days. The good old days that you're going to talk about next amount of years, you're in them right now. So soak them up. And I'm saying that to myself too, because I'm clearly too pessimistic. But yeah, it's clearly getting the monkey off their back. I mean, I know they beat in the national championship a few years ago, but still, I mean, that's your one win in X amount of years. So hopefully this is kind of the, hey, Bama, that Crimson logo doesn't own us anymore.
One last thing I want to add real quick.
Go ahead.
So Kirby is now 4-0 in revenge games in the same season. A team that he's lost to at one point in the season had to rematch. He's 4-0 now.
So that would be Auburn, Alabama twice.
I don't know who the other one is, but I saw it posted at some point, and I didn't save it or anything, but he's now 4-0.
Wonder who else that would be.
Hey, I just want to say this real quick, Joey. You remember when Paul George was doing his podcast back? I don't know if he's still doing it. I know he took a break at one time. Paul George was doing that podcast. I forget who it was, but somebody was on his podcast talking about Damian Lillard had one of the clutchest shots in the playoffs history, and obviously over Paul George. I felt like you just did that to me, low-key. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but Lane Kiffin's last 2 weeks at Ole Miss, all he kept saying was, we're in the glory days. Just appreciate it. We're in the glory days. And then he fucking left us. So I felt like a jab, Joey, I'm going to be honest.
That's crazy stretch.
You need to seek help, brother. I ain't going to lie.
Nah, hey, as soon as you said the glory days, I was like,
I said good old days.
Oh, well, yeah, that's how Kiffin worded it like that too. But, yeah, whatever, dude. I don't know. I was like, is he playing with me right now?
Come on, bro.
I'm just saying.
You need help. So, but yeah, a lot we can say, and there's something I'm going to bring up about Georgia when we get into this playoff talk. So let's go and get into that. Boys, we have some rough feathers get ruffled this weekend. So the championship ends up, the playoff rankings officially come out, all bowl games set in, all that good stuff. The first four seeds who get the first round bye: number 1, Indiana; number 2, Ohio State; 3, Georgia; number 4, Texas Tech. There's so much to break down in this thing, but I think everybody obviously knows the big story is Notre Dame not making it. Miami ends up getting the nod over, and it's funny because the Miami first round game is both teams that beat Notre Dame. That's hilarious. So yeah, I don't even know where to start. I want to kick it off just by asking a few questions before we get into the Notre Dame stuff. So this doesn't matter because ideally they end up playing like the same kind of deal, but Georgia winning their championship, Ohio State losing theirs, and Georgia not being 2 and Ohio State not being 3, it's a weird precedent. Because, and again, I'm not comparing Georgia missing the playoffs in 2023 because that was a 14 playoff versus a 12. Not comparing it, but they dropped 1 spot. Georgia dropped 6 spots. Alabama loses their conference championship, doesn't drop at all. So, do conference championships not mean anything because you making it there doesn't give you a playoff spot, or do they not mean anything because they don't really do anything to your ranking?
I'm going to be honest. I think this is where they got it wrong the most, is the seeding within the 12. The way the 12 played out, I'm not mad at nor really surprised. But I think the seeding within the 12 is very wrong because Indiana's 1, Georgia's 2 in my book. I think Ohio State 3 is fine. And then after that, the only reason why I'm biased, but the only reason why I'm giving Texas Tech the benefit of the doubt over Ole Miss is because Texas Tech won their conference, for 1. And for 2, they did beat BYU twice, and the only team to beat BYU. So I think those 2 wins alone are pretty big time. But they did lose Arizona State. And then I feel like Ole Miss undoubtedly at least should have been 5, if not 4, because their resume is better than Oregon. I don't even think it's a question. Oregon lost by 10 to Indiana, who's number 1. We lost at Georgia by 9, which I think should have put us. I think that's better. Our only loss is Georgia. Their only loss is Indiana, but they don't have really credible wins like Ole Miss does. I mean, we've beat Oklahoma, who's in these playoffs. We beat Tulane, who's in these playoffs. Oregon can't say that about anybody in the playoffs or even top 25, I don't believe. So that's the part where I'm like, I think we should have been 5, Oregon 6. And then 7 A&M, I think I'm fine with that. 8 Oklahoma, I'm fine with that. But I think Miami should have been 9. Bama should have been 10. Bama's 3 losses at the end of the day. Bama's Florida State loss is pretty rough. But Bama, I think Miami are a little flip-flop. It don't really matter there. But then 11 and 12 are what they are. But I think the seeding in this could have been a lot different and still been correct, personally. I think there's 3 or 4 teams that could have flopped around. Alabama and Miami, I think, splitting hairs a little bit because Bama's got a lot better wins than Miami. And I don't know, just 3 losses in the playoffs just looks a little weird. And them not sliding at all for playing. But then you had the argument of the playoff committee literally came out and said they weren't considering head-to-head matchups until this week. That was their excuse for putting Miami over Notre Dame. And I'm saying excuse because Miami the whole time should have been over Notre Dame. Like, it's insane for that to be the case.
Yeah. And like, I understand. And again, well, once Trip goes, we're gonna get Notre Dame more. I think Notre Dame has a right to say, hey, we were one of the 12 best teams. Honestly, I believe they were, just from watching them and them going on a 10-game win streak, which we'll talk more about that here in a second. But why was Miami not ranked ahead of them the whole time if you were going to put them in the playoffs over them?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
If you have the same record and head-to-head as the first tiebreaker, then, yeah, Miami should have been ahead the whole time. And, I mean, that's probably why Oklahoma is technically 8 and Bama's technically 9 because head-to-head. So it's like there's certain scenarios where head-to-head mattered a lot and then some where they didn't at all, which I think is crazy. But I don't know. Like, definitely some questionable things that they did, honestly, the last few weeks of the rankings. So, I mean, because everyone's mad because BYU gets kicked out. They lost the conference championship. They get kicked out. Then they're, oh, well, Bama's SEC, so they don't move at all. I think the difference is the way they lost matters a lot. The difference also is Bama beat Georgia in the regular season. Let's keep that in mind.
In Georgia.
Yeah. So I think those both played big parts. And on top of that, BYU lost to the same team. Like, kind of like what Tripp just mentioned, which is a perfect example here. Like, Kirby Smart's 4-0 in revenge games within the same season. I've always said it's very hard to beat the same team twice, especially a good team. Like, Tulane, I'm not necessarily terrified about. I'm more terrified about what our coaching is like. But at the same time, it's like Tulane still is like a little like beating the same team twice isn't the easiest thing to do. And there is a little bit of an old school rivalry between Tulane and Ole Miss. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to blow them out of the water, but I think we should be able to take care of business. But then I'm looking ahead when maybe I should have, but then I'm like, this Georgia game, like there's part of me where it's like maybe Ole Miss stands a chance because beating the same team twice is very hard. But at the same time, it's like for Georgia, this might not even look like the same team. Like, I really don't know what Ole Miss is going to be like. But back to the BYU thing, like, it's just, I don't know if you can lose by 3 scores twice to the same team. And I do hate it for BYU because if you win 11 regular season games and you're in a Power 4 conference, like, I really think you should be in because that just seems diabolical not to get in 11 regular season wins. But at the same time, it's like, I think if they lose by 3 points or something, like the Indiana-Ohio State game, if it's close like that, I think they're in. I really do. So, I don't know. Like, I get the complaints of BYU falling pretty far back for losing, like, to, only one team all year or whatever and playing it, they earning the right to play in the conference championship. But at the same time, like, BYU don't have signature wins like Bama. BYU didn't beat Texas Tech earlier in the year. Like, there's a handful of factors where it does make sense also.
Yeah, I think before we get into like the Notre Dame thing, and while we're on the topic of some of this other stuff, I definitely think the seating could have been a little bit different. I think, and I remember I'd mentioned this in the group chat a little bit, and I think Logan misunderstood what I didn't explain it well enough. But about the.
We got on the same page.
This would have been the easiest 4-team playoff that the committee may have ever been able to get of all the years that the playoff has been around. You would have a Big Ten champion, an SEC champion, a team that was number one half the season and became a runner-up and lost by a field goal, and a Big 12 champion. And then the rest of them, it would have sucked because there are teams that arguably could beat, like a Texas Tech or whoever else, but it would have been so easy there would have been no anticipation going into Selection Sunday of I wonder if they're going to get in. We would have been pretty clear cut.
Yeah, that was pretty set in stone. I agree.
But aside from that, I think there's a couple really important things to look at when it comes to this bracket in general. Is we have the potential to see a lot of rematches. You've got Ole Miss Tulane that's going to be a rematch. If Ole Miss wins that game, Ole Miss Georgia is going to be a rematch. You have Alabama Oklahoma who's going to be a rematch on the other side of the bracket. And we have a chance of even seeing an Indiana, Ohio State if things pan out how they're supposed to, or a Georgia, Alabama again if it pans out like that. So many different things can happen. But while we're talking about the BYU Cougars, and I said this on Selection Sunday, I think they should be more mad than anybody, and I'm about to show you why. Obviously, they get blown out in the Big 12 championship. They also got blown out in the regular season by the same team. And I don't think BYU is better than a lot of these teams that are in this playoff right now, but based on what the standard has been and what we've seen in past years, I definitely think BYU should have been considered a little bit heavier. I think they didn't even have BYU as the first team out. I think that they should have been at least the first team out, if anything. Anywho, so when they were comparing the side-by-side of Miami and Notre Dame, you have Miami with a 45, is ranked 45th strength of schedule, Notre Dame's 44th. BYU's was 22nd. Strength of record, Miami was 14, Notre Dame 13, BYU was 9th. So this is where, and I know Joey brought this up and we haven't really elaborated on it too much, where we get into the conversation of why the hell does BYU even want to play in their conference championship if it's going to cost them the playoff? And this is, we saw it happen to Georgia in 2023. They're undefeated, go and lose to Alabama, and now they're out. And they were the reigning national champs from the year before.
And the year before that.
And the year before that, exactly. Which those seasons don't play into that season at all, but playing in that extra game cost them. So I think BYU should be more pissed than anybody. Personally, now obviously I think Notre Dame could beat BYU. I think Miami could beat BYU. I think a lot of these teams in this playoff, but at that point it becomes the conversation of, are we debating who the best 12 teams are, or are we debating the 12 most deserving teams? I think the committee screwed up in a lot of ways, and they always do. The bullshit excuse that they were given on the panel when they were asked about, why is Miami just now jumping Notre Dame if they've been behind them one spot the last 4 or 5 weeks? And they were like, well, because when BYU lost, we agreed that Miami was better than Notre Dame or better than BYU, so we put them ahead of them, and then we compared them head to head. It's like that head to head has been there since week 2. What do you mean you just compared them? That makes no sense. So I think that, and we talk about this all the time. Thank God we get to criticize this and not actually have to make those decisions. But there's one last thing that I want to point out. If this format that we're in right now was the same as it was last year with the automatic buys, Tulane would be the 4 seed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Good God.
Thanks to the ACC, pretty much.
Yeah, the fact that, and we talked about this last week, the fact that Miami was not in the ACC championship was an absolute disgrace.
We're going to see a lot of restructuring going on as time continues to move on, whether it's extensions or changes. But the ACC's format, that shit needs to be changed by August of next year.
Oh, yeah. Can I jump in real quick because I got some things to say about Notre Dame, but before we jump into that, I want to kind of have a rebuttal to what Tripp's saying about the easiest selection for the playoff committee. So I do agree with your statement. It'd be very, very easy selection, theoretically. However, this kind of reminds me of 2023. Georgia's 12-0 all year. They lose to Bama in the SEC championship, and they get kicked out. I think maybe Ohio State is arguably the team that would be the odd man out in this scenario, because if you remember, that's the year. So what was it? Georgia was out when they were undefeated all year, lost the championship game.
And Florida State.
I was saying. And then Florida State was 12-0, and they lost. Or they didn't lose.
13-0.
They were 13.
They were 13-0. My fault. They were 13-0 and didn't get in because their quarterback went out. So in 2023, I don't know, dude. It's like 2023 seemed like they got it wrong, and it feels like maybe they would have found a way to get it wrong this year as well, even if it was just a 4-team, because there would. I just feel like there would have been some foolery going on, because 2023 is like, seems like they kind of got it wrong when it was maybe a little more black and white. I think Texas should have been the odd man out in that one because they lost to Oklahoma, but they won their championship. So I don't know. That's kind of my rebuttal. The 2023 season is what kind of comes out.
Well,
like they got
2023, what they proved was they are going to. They don't know whether or not they abide by the best 4 teams or the most deserving 4 teams, because, I mean, like, how could you argue who they put in? You know what I mean? Like, Washington,
because Florida State's undefeated.
But I mean, obviously, but if you watch those games when Jordan Travis came out, including that game against Louisville, they were awful. They were horrific without him. But again, I'm not asking you your viewpoint. I'm just saying they show that they don't know whether it's 4 best or 4 most deserving, right, wrong, or different. That's what they showed.
For sure.
So, but yeah, so Logan was about to segue into Notre Dame. So Notre Dame ends up being the team who gets snubbed out, brings up a lot of questions. We won 10 games in a row. We don't play in a conference championship. We earn this, X, Y, and Z. Then it comes out starting next year. If this situation would have happened, they would have been guaranteed a bid in the playoff, which is just absolutely ludicrous. And then you got your athletic director, who I'm going to read this quote from him, said the ACC has done serious damage between themselves and the program. And I'm going to read his quote. On 3 reported this. So the guy's name is Pete Bavacqua, I think is how you pronounce it. He's the AD over there at Notre Dame. He said, "We were definitely being targeted. For better or for worse, we have a different relationship with the ACC than any other team in college football other than the teams in the ACC. We're in the ACC in 24 sports. We have a scheduling agreement with the ACC. And again, the ACC does wonderful things for Notre Dame. We bring tremendous football value to the ACC, and we didn't understand why you'd go out of your way to try and damage us in the process." When they're referring to damage, he's talking about ACC advocating for Notre Dame, Miami to make it in over Notre Dame. And if you guys remember, Notre Dame was changing their profile picture based on who was playing. They had it at Texas Tech and had it as a Duke, I believe. So I think what is interesting to me in college football, especially, is when somebody gets snubbed, whatever happens, it's always, let's look at the system and not look at us. Let's blame everything. I have so much respect for Clark Lee, who he had his press conference after not making it, Vanderbilt not getting in. He says, hey, we got to look at us. We didn't execute when we had the chances to. We lost these 2 games. Bounce us out. Man, you got all my respect in the world. But we're saying, look at the system. The ACC targeted us. We want to get rid of the G5 schools instead of saying, hey, what if we don't lose our first 2 games of the year? And then they talk about somebody from the school, can't remember said they went on one of the greatest 10-game runs in the history of college football. They beat 5 teams in that 10-game with a losing record.
Whoever said that, smoking crack.
Yeah. So quite a bit, but I was – and then, of course, Notre Dame opts out of the Pop-Tart Bowl against Georgia Tech. Right, whatever their rationale is, as a fan, I don't care. Fans pay a lot of money to buy your gear, to go to your games, do all this, and then because you get snubbed, you're not playing the game. And I know people say it's a meaningless bowl game. When was a bowl game ever meaningful if it wasn't a national championship? I hate this national championship or bust era. I understand it from schools, but I promise you, Ohio State Alabama, Texas, Georgia, whoever, if they miss a playoff, they're playing in that bowl game. That bowl game is your chance to say, hey, let me show you how we got it wrong. That's what Georgia did in 2023 when or I guess, I don't know if it was technically 2024 calendar year, when they obliterated Florida State. Was okay. That's your message to remember the season with. Notre Dame, it was just, it's a crying shame to the sport, and it really infuriates me. I don't care about why go out there and play a meaningless game, get picked apart, NIL, blah, 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 blah. It's just an absolute sore on the sport. I don't think this is going to become a precedent, honestly. I know that it seems like that's an easy one to jump to, but really disappointing. Really disappointing.
Trip, you want to take the reins or?
Yeah, I'll fire off real quick.
Sorry, I got kind of fired up there.
No, you're good. I have a lot to say also.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit on the couple of points that you made, Joey. First one being, Notre Dame's AD giving the ACC a hard time for advocating for Miami. Yeah, Notre Dame, we understand that you're contractually agreed to play 4 to 5 ACC games a year, right? But you won't join the conference, so that's number one. Number two, if you were to go to the playoff and play any game of any kind of fashion, even if you went to a bowl game, there's not a single cent of that money that goes to the ACC. So you're not representing the ACC at all. So they can screw you over all they want to. You're lucky they give you games to play because they don't have to do that. You're an independent program. They don't have to do anything for you. So them crying about them advocating for arguably their best conference team that they have, that's just, this whole thing has been just, why me? I'm going to cry about me the whole time. Joey, you touched on my point, but I'm going to go a little bit more into detail.
I'm not very thorough. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Notre Dame's, it was the AD again talking about how they went on the most historic 10-run game in the history of college football. Okay, here's the 10-game run. Purdue finished 2-10. Arkansas finished 2-10. Boise State, G5 school. NC State finished 7-5. USC 9-3. I'll give them that. Boston College finished 2-10. Navy, G5 school. Pitt finished 8-4. Give them that. Syracuse 3-9. Stanford 4-8. That's the most historic 10-run game in college football history. Shut the fuck up. That is arguably one of the ugliest 10-game runs I've ever seen in my life. It's pitiful. And while I'm on it, I'm on your ass, Mr. AD. Your schedule for next year: Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Navy, Florida State, Miami, SMU, Syracuse. Is that going to be another historic run? Or
I can't wait for that Miami game. I can't wait.
So all this to say, obviously, I do give Notre Dame credit. They are one of those teams that has progressively gotten better as the year went on. Do I think they're one of the best 12 teams in college football? Maybe. I don't know. They don't play anybody. So I don't know. It's just like Ohio State when, we had talked about in weeks past, like, Ohio State's the clear-cut best team in the country. And then they play their first real opponent, and anybody that says that Michigan was, stop. And they had Julian Sand in shambles. So it's all hypotheticals when you say, like, but if you put us in, we would do that. We don't know that at all. So, and I think that if Notre Dame played Texas A&M in that first round instead of Miami, I would probably be taking Texas A&M again to beat them. Neither here nor there, but those were the main points I wanted to hit on when it came to the whole Notre Dame thing. I think it's pitiful that they're opting out of a bowl game, and a lot of the excuses I'm hearing is, none of our guys are going to want to be bought in because some of them are going to the draft. Okay, well, that's a program problem. Like, when Georgia got snubbed in 2023, like Joey's just talking about, we went on to beat the ever-living shit out of Florida State and took pride in being in that game. So, and now there's reports saying about these 5 and 7 teams that opted out and these other teams that are doing the same thing. And I was giving them a hard time at first, but I heard something today that completely changed my mind. Those 5 and 7 teams, they got sent home last week for the holidays. They thought their season was already over. So what are the coaches going to do? Make everybody come back to school and start practicing? That, to me, changed my perspective on those 5 and 7 teams.
And 2 of them are coachless.
Exactly. And Iowa State being one of them. But, I just cannot believe how big of a pity party Notre Dame wants when you played 3 ranked opponents and you lost to 2 of them. I don't care if they're by 4 points, 1 point, it doesn't matter. You lost the important games you weren't supposed to lose. The same conversation we had about Texas last week. Like, beat the teams and you have nothing to cry about. Or here's an idea: join a conference. You would have been 10-2 and probably in that tiebreaker for the ACC title game. And then you're fighting for a conference championship to get you an automatic bid. So I love Marcus Freeman. I really do. I think he's one of the best coaches in college football right now. And I love the way he speaks and the way he talks about, the players. But like, to me, this sounds like an exit for Marcus Freeman at some point. And just so y'all know, they just posted betting odds for the favorite to be the next head coach at the New York Giants. Guess who's number 1?
No shot.
Marcus Freeman is -200 to be the next coach at the New York Giants.
That's insane.
That's hilarious. I love
Drop the mic on there, Logan. Go ahead.
All right. I'll touch real quick on your Iowa State, Kansas State team thing. Yes, they don't have coaches, but shout out to finding them. Shout out to the Big 12. Find them. Make them go represent your conference because they're not 5-7 schools. Kansas State was 6-6. Iowa State was 8-4. Those are both bowl eligible schools. Therefore, go represent your conference. Go have another game for recruits to look at. Go make money for your conference, for your school. Like, there's a lot of things that make bowl games matter. And not to mention, I heard someone talk about it. They were talking about the Notre Dame team, but this also applies for every other team who backed out of a bowl game. You're taking away experiences from your players. I get it. These top players who are going to the draft, which is a very small percent of players on these teams, especially Iowa State and Kansas State, maybe they have 2 or 3 guys that are getting a stint in the NFL, I would think, based off those teams. You're taking experience away from your players because you get the bowl swag, you get the media days and all that stuff, and who knows? You could have a player in one of these games who maybe was going to go undrafted, and he might get a 7th-round pick now. Like, he might get picked day 3, because he goes off for 200 receiving. Like, you never know what can happen for these players. So, from the programs doing that, I hate it, dude. I really do, because at this rate, in 5 years, we won't have bowl games. It's going to be playoffs or nothing, and that's terrible for the sport, I think.
100%.
As an Ole Miss fan who I used to get I couldn't tell you how excited I was to watch Ole Miss play in the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, like a New Year's 6 game for Ole Miss. I was ecstatic, dude. So I could not imagine Ole Miss being an 8-9 win school getting selected to a bowl game and not going. Like, I could imagine last year we don't go to it was the Gator Bowl, dude. Who gives a shit? Or out, but whatever it was. I don't even remember now. That's how not important that game was. However, we still went. And guess what? As a fan, I drove my ass to Jacksonville, which is a 6-hour drive from where we are, just to go watch Jackson Dart play because I'd never seen him play. I wanted to watch Walter Nolan play. I wanted to watch Prince play. All these guys going Trey Harris. I wanted to watch him play. Caden Prescott. Like, there's so many guys on that team that's like, I got to see him play. Like, I had never seen him play. Like, as a fan, I literally drove 6 hours just to go represent, So it's like, I just hate it for those schools, or for the fans, not really the schools, for the players as well. So I won't go too much in depth because I do have a lot of Notre Dame shit to get off my chest. First and foremost, Notre Dame, join a conference. Like, it's that easy. Like, you would literally be in the conference championship, and you probably would have steamrolled Virginia because, like Tripp's saying, like Joey's saying, like, I agree with both of you. They might be a top 12 team. But guess what? You haven't played nobody. We don't know. And if your rebuttal is Ohio State didn't play anybody, well, yeah, but guess what? They took everybody they did play. Like, that's the difference. It's like y'all had a chance, y'all didn't prove it. Ohio State stuck around with the number 1 team in the country, lost by a field goal. So it's like Ohio State, I don't know. Like, I feel like Notre Dame's argument is going to be part of that. Is like, teams like Ohio State haven't played nobody. But at the end of the day, you join a conference and that solves pretty much everything. And then for you to sit there and cry because, hey, honestly, shout out to the ACC. For those who don't know, ACC Network played Miami beating Notre Dame 13 times in a row. They should have played it 16 times in a row, I think. You should have played it every single minute of that program because, like Tripp touched on, guess who gets money for the Miami Hurricanes going to the playoffs? ACC. Guess who doesn't get money for Notre Dame going to the playoffs? ACC. It's like I said in the group chat, it's like you have 2 girls. One of them is giving you all of their attention and they're so in love with you. The other one's giving you half of their attention. Like, when they want to, they'll come play at school. Like, that's how it feels. Like, so when it comes time to go to the dance, who would I rather go with? Oh, the girl's going to give me all the attention. The girl who actually is going to dance with me and not go dance with someone else. Like,
and buy you drinks.
Yeah, she might. Hey, it might be a good happy ending too. Shit, like they're all focused on me, bro. Like like no shit. They want their team to go. Like duh. Like I don't understand Notre Dame's point of view of like damaging a relationship. What are we talking about? Like they're the reason you're able to complete a schedule. Some of these ACC games in the past for Notre Dame had been their only test. Let's be honest. Look at this year. One of their only tests was an ACC school. Head to head, you lost. Like the better loss. Like this is the way I feel. If you got two teams that played each other and they have the same exact record, whoever won, that's who gets in every time. I don't give a shit. Like I think Joey's talked about it. Like there's no real such thing as a good loss. Like I think it was Joey that said this in the past. I agree with that unless it's like if both of these teams are 10-2, maybe Notre Dame does get in because they lost to two top 15 teams and Miami lost to two teams they should have beat. Maybe Notre Dame gets the edge in that case. But that's not the case. They played head-to-head. Like, it's as simple as that. Head-to-head, when you guys both had 11 men on the field, Miami was a better football team.
And not to cut that off there, but
no,
you're 100% right. I am very adamant there's no such thing as a good loss. A loss is a loss. Yeah. But, of course, like you said, if these two teams have not played each other and
you're comparing losses,
we look at who they've lost to, of course, that's what it should be.
Right.
I will say, too, just something to think about. I think most Notre Dame fans are mad about. I don't even think it's Miami. It could be dating back to the beef 12, 13 years ago. They're pissed Alabama didn't drop out. I think that's the biggest problem with Notre Dame fans.
But, I mean, either way, Alabama has significantly better wins than them.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Like, Alabama beat the number 3 team in the country. The team that we all just said probably should be number 2. Like, at that point, you're splitting hairs. They both have first-round bye, so it is what it is, like, obviously. But it's like, you're either way, a top 3 team, they beat. Like, Notre Dame hasn't sniffed that. Like, even, like, I don't know. It's just, I'm tired of it. And honestly, you know what I think this stimulates from? I think a big part of this is I think the world has gotten away from it in the last 3 to 5 years, but for a long time, like a good 10-year stretch, participation trophies were a thing. And that's what Notre Dame is. They're crybaby bitches because they didn't get their participation trophy. Cool, you participated. Trip, I try to look it up while you were talking. I would love to know the combined record of those 10 teams that they beat in a row. Because I heard 3 2-10 teams in there. You know what I mean?
It's pretty bad.
I was gonna do the math real quick, but I couldn't find a schedule with like the ending. Like the schedules I was finding was like the record after that game, and not like their all year schedules. But it's like those teams, from what I just heard, probably haven't cracked 25 wins altogether. Because I think the best win total, or you had USC with 9 wins, and you had they're probably cracking 25 because you had USC with 9 wins, and you had another team with 8, Pitt with 8. So maybe they're cracking 25, but regardless, we're talking about a stretch of 10 teams not being able to crack, 30, 35 wins? That's an average of 3 wins, 4 wins per opponent. Like, they're not good. A generational 10-game stretch is insane. If Florida Gators would have went undefeated this year or won 10 in a row, that would have been generational. Florida Gators had a juggernaut on the schedule this year. But guess what? They didn't win them. Like, it is what it is. They had a crazy schedule. So to say, I don't know, that AD, like, I don't know who's in charge of hiring ADs, but if I'm them, I'm looking at that guy being like, dude, you're making our program look kind of bad. Like, this is not a good look. And pulling out of the bowl game is crazy. If I'm them, like, honestly, I wish Clark Lee, because he's so adamant about proving everything, because he asked for a 13 game, but people didn't want to do it. Like, dude, why? I wish Clark Lee would have sat out there like, Notre Dame, play us. Prove that you deserved it over us. Because I'm in the boat that Vanderbilt deserved it over them. I really strongly believe that. Like, I do think that. Like, their losses are about the same, but I think Vanderbilt has better wins. I mean, on paper, they beat 4 ranked teams. I get it. Those teams aren't ranked anymore. But when you go into South Carolina playing number 11 South Carolina, in that moment, you're playing a top 15 matchup. Like, you're preparing for number 11 South Carolina. You're not preparing for 3-win, 4-win South Carolina, who they turned into. And with that being said, Tennessee alone is a better win, I think, than any USC or Pitt win from Notre Dame. So, I don't know. Notre Dame, join a conference and it's done with. It's over with. Like, quit holding on to your TV deal so close to your chest. Like, Texas had a TV deal. They still were in a conference and joined a bigger conference. So it's like, get over yourselves, Notre Dame. Like, What are there 3 or 4 teams not in the conference right now? There's only 2?
I think it's them and UConn, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought UMass was a part of it too.
Maybe you're right.
I thought it was like but they might have joined the conference, and UConn too, like coming up. I don't know. Either way, there's not a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
very few.
And the teams who aren't in a conference are actively talking about joining conferences. Notre Dame's not. So it's just, I don't know. I said it previously in episodes that I hated that Notre Dame's not in the conference. I don't want to see them get in. I was so happy to see them not get in. And I said it earlier in the year also. The team that should be the most mad about not getting in when they don't get in was Vanderbilt. And look, they didn't get in, and Clark Lee stood on business, and he's like, it is Clark Lee, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I second guessed that was Superman for a second. Clark Kent, Superman. Anyways, Clark Lee literally stood on business. That was like, no, we're finishing what we started. Like, bring us whoever. I love that. That is how you build a program, not quitting.
I think it just made me think in my head how incredible it would have been if Notre Dame, if Vanderbilt played, neither one of them got in. That's hilarious.
I just want to touch on one more thing before we move on at any point. Or I guess 2. I just looked it up. Notre Dame and UConn are the only 2 schools that are independent in football. The other thing that I meant to say earlier, the biggest cop-out that I saw from Notre Dame fans on Twitter, TikTok, they're all going crazy all over social media right now because people are giving Notre Dame a hard time for opting out of this bowl game. I saw one dude give this take as to why they're opting out, and there was like every Notre Dame fan in the world backing it up. They said, why would we go play a bowl game and give some of our players the opportunity to get more tape just to transfer and get NIL somewhere else? I'm like, brother, if you're looking in the season and you don't want to play more games because you're worried that they're going to put out enough tape to go somewhere else, you're playing football for the wrong reasons, man. Like, I thought that was the craziest cop-out to not play in a bowl game against an ACC runner-up of a team that you are claiming that this conference screwed you over. Like, I guess they're trying to do that to not give AC a chance to play in a bowl game, as if somebody wasn't just going to fill that spot anyway. But I just thought that was hilarious.
That's low-hanging fruit, and that's rotten low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
is what that is.
Hey, I also just looked real quick, Trip, before you touch on your second one. UMass joined a conference July of this year, so this is their first year in the MAC. But hey, my point being, there was a team that was a independent and were actively pursuing to get in a conference, unlike Notre Dame.
I like how that's like the go-to, like spam. Notre Dame mad about anything? Join a conference. Join a conference.
They play in the ACC and every other sport.
Yeah,
every other sport except for football. That makes no sense.
I want to ask y'all some questions real quick. Now, does so I guess really what people are saying is what complicates this too are James Madison and Tulane being in this. Do they need to get rid of it? Before you answer that, I don't think college football would have come to a consensus to extend the playoff to 12 teams. Excuse me. Without having the little man in it. But with that being said, should they get rid of G5 schools being guaranteed playoff spots?
Go ahead, Logan.
No. Because then you're telling them, hey, you're playing football for nothing. Go play in the FBS. Go play in the, what do they call it? FCS. Go play in the FCS. That's what you'd be telling them. Like, if you're going to have group of 5, if you're going to have your power conferences and your non-power conferences, because at the end of the day, that's basically what it is. You can't just tell teams like Memphis and Tulane and all these other schools to just be like, nah, like, sorry, but you're just playing for fun. You're playing for the Pop-Tart Bowl. You're playing for the Duke's Mayo Bowl, whatever. Like, no, that's BS to those players, to those teams, to those coaches. Because at the end of the day, like right now, I would say the top 2 jobs for Power 5 conferences, or not Power 5, for a group of 5 conferences is probably like Tulane, Memphis, James Madison, right?
Boise State.
Yeah, Boise State. So, like, you got 3 to 5 schools that, like, that's a solid job. Maybe South Florida's in the mix after this year. But you got, like, 3 to 5 group of 5 schools that are pretty good jobs. So, it's like, who's a no? A team like Boise State, for instance. Boise State made their playoff run last year. If Boise State could have followed that up and made another one this year, who's to say they don't go join a better conference, Like, I mean, I guess they're joining the Pac, but you know what I'm saying? Like, who's to say that like a team like Memphis doesn't go on a 3 to 5 year run where they say Memphis makes playoff 3 out of 5 years? ACC's probably knocking on their door. You know, like maybe not SEC, but ACC. Like to me, that gives the opportunity for these programs to get looked at, for these programs to have the opportunity to maybe join better conferences. And also, I think as soon as that happens, then you're just going to really have super conferences, which is what a lot of people touched on a couple of years ago when Texas and Oklahoma made the jump. I don't want to see super conferences. I really don't. Like I think the closer we get to that, the more products. I mean, I like the tradition of college football. Maybe I'm just being an old head or something. I don't know. But
I'm with you.
I just think that the farther we get away from the tradition of college football, the more it's turning into the shit it is today of NILs and all of it. Nothing's about the school anymore. You're going to the school for money. And like NCAA, overall, NCAA has to fix the schedule. They have to fix the transfer portal. I have always said the quickest way to fix the portal, you get one time to transfer. One time. You transfer once. If you transfer a second time, make it the old rule. You sit out a year. It's that simple, I think. I literally think it's that simple.
I'll tell you another simple fix, Logan. We need to figure out who the hell is in charge. There needs to be a college football commissioner, undoubtedly.
I agree. I think that would help a lot. But then again, depending who you put at commissioner, everyone's going to, like, you put Nick Saban at commissioner. SEC fans would be thrilled. A lot of probably a couple of other fan bases will be happy, but then you're going to come playoff time. You're going to, oh, of course Bama didn't fall. Nick Saban's there. You know, like you're going to have the biased opinion or whoever. Like even if you have a conference commissioner move up, you get what I'm saying though. But I agree, a commissioner, someone's got to put some rules in place. And the whole excuse of we can't change the transfer portal window because we're basing it off of academics. Oh, yeah? Because these players going to 5 schools in 5 years, they're really getting their academics, right? They're really going for scholarships.
It's madness.
It's literally impossible to graduate at that point. So I don't know. It's just.
Let's move on to the Trip real quick. Trip, same question. Should they keep or get rid of the G5 automatic bid?
No, I think they keep it. The only reason people are so stirred up about it is because the ACC shit the bed this year. There would only be one of these schools in if Virginia won their conference championship, or if the ACC tiebreaker wasn't so screwed up and you had a Miami versus a Virginia or a Miami versus a Pitt or Tech or whatever. I think they do deserve the opportunity to play in. JMU, they were an FCS school and moved to be in the FBS. Or am I saying that backwards? No, I said that right.
Yeah.
So like, just like Logan made the best point of it all is like, you're telling these teams they're playing for nothing. Like, are they going to be the best team in the playoff? No, but it's about representing their programs. So I think that'd be so stupid. And to go into Logan's point about like how to fix the whole calendar, all of those things, I think there's only one true way to fix the transfer portal and NIL as a whole is you go to a school to make money and play football. Guess what? You're signing a contract. You are signing a 2 to 3 year contract saying, if I come here and accept this cash from this school, I am playing football here for at least 2 years. And then maybe you get, after 2 years, you can go look into the portal. But being a free agent after every year is crazy. This is another topic for the offseason when we're recording. But long story short, no, G5 should always have a representation. I'm glad that they're finally starting to get a little bit of taste into the big picture. Taking that away from them completely shits on the group of 5 as a whole.
And I think maybe the most of that opinion comes from kind of the sour taste in fans' mouth from those games last year. That may not happen every year. I don't think Tulane stands a chance to beat Ole Miss. But any given Sunday, you know, I don't think you're going to have the Super Bowl or the kind of like the Cinderella stories that you have in college basketball. There's just it's way more people on way more of a talent disparity. One person makes way more impact on a basketball court than they do on a football field. So neither here nor there, but yeah, I agree that they definitely should keep it. Give everybody a chance. And honestly, you're not having a playoff this big if the little man can't be in it, straight up.
Well, and also, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just like the point Logan was making about bowl games becoming non-irrelevant and people backing out of them. Like, this gives a lot of these players the opportunity to get on the big stage for really the first time ever. I mean, these guys aren't getting a lot of national television coverage when they're playing football. So who knows? You have like that kid from North Texas playing quarterback that where all these eyes are on and have been for him, but for everybody else, I mean, I couldn't tell you 3 players on any of these G5 teams, but they finally get a chance to go out and show out on the big stage. And who knows, that could get them into a big school or somewhere else and project their careers. So I'm all for G5.
I think a perfect example of that, this is someone me and Joey went to high school with. So Tank, for instance. Tank played at Liberty. Liberty's not getting a lot of views, obviously. But guess what? They played Baylor. Tank goes off for what was that, 10 catches, 230. He went crazy.
I think it was 195 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so he goes for around 200 yards, puts up a big game against Baylor, finally his own, Tripp saying, a bigger stage. And honestly, that's probably one of the bigger reasons he got drafted. I'm not saying that game specifically, but that game definitely put him on the map because everyone was talking about, oh my God, Liberty upset Baylor. This is crazy. But then guess who the first person they talked about when they talked about who Liberty was getting led by? It was Tank. He went off for 200 yards. And I think he was good enough to get drafted regardless. But what I'm saying is that probably there's no way that didn't help his draft stock.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, put some eyes on it.
That's my point of getting on these bigger, kind of like Tripp saying, getting on these bigger stages. But one thing I want to ask you guys, some people are saying expand the playoffs. I completely disagree with it. The first round sucked last year. Before we expand playoffs, we need to have competitive first rounds, I believe. But something that could fix the group of 5 argument, Notre Dame's argument, Texas's argument possibly, and Vandy's argument, maybe it's a bubble play-in thing like the NBA.
I think that'd be great.
Maybe the week before the playoffs start, or maybe so this week is Army and Navy. Maybe next week we have the play-in game, and then you got 2 weeks to prepare for.
I think you do a conference championship week.
Well, no, because you got to see who loses conference championship. The BYU's on the bubble, so you got to see. So I'm thinking the week after Army and Navy, because they always have their own week. So next weekend we would have. Well, no, next weekend's playoffs already. Shit, I don't know. You find a week. You find a way where you go have BYU. BYU, hey, guess what? You're a bubble team. You go play JMU. Tulane, you're a bubble team, Power 5 or whatever. You go play the next guy. Maybe the 2 guys on the bubble play the 2 Power 5 teams that get in, or maybe you work out something where instead of I guess you're technically expanding playoffs at that point, but instead of expanding it to where it's you're stretching out the bracket, you're kind of having those bubble teams play because it's going to be more competitive games, kind of like the NBA did.
I will say there should not be more than 12 teams in the playoff. No. I think the committee is going to have, or the sport is going to have real-time establishing credibility if they are looking at a rule change or changing the entire system every year. No, they should not.
No to bubble or no to the overall question of Power 5?
No, there should not be more than 12 teams. I think you could still have a playoff with 12 teams and play some playing games.
Yeah, that's what I feel like a play-in game isn't really it is kind of.
You're going to have to shorten the season. You can't do 12 games, a playing game, and then the playoffs.
Why not? You can play a conference championship, then the playoffs.
I mean, I think just the nature of the sport and the lack of development in these kids' bodies.
I think there's something to do with.
I think it's an attrition thing.
There's a maximum amount of games these kids are legally allowed.
That's
to
also
play.
true.
No, but I'm saying if right now, if Notre Dame were to play Vanderbilt, neither one of those teams played in a conference championship, so it's the same as Alabama and Georgia playing a 13th game.
Yeah, I give it to you, man. I mean, but if you have 4 teams, like you're saying for that last spot in the playoff, you have 4 teams. Okay, well, let's say BYU, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Texas. They all 4 got to play each other. Well, now the winner of those 2 have to also play each other to get in that. So I don't know. There's a million ways to go about it. My answer to the question is I don't think it should be extended. I think that there's always going to be teams on the bubble that are saying we deserve this, and that's just going to continue to push it back. But I do think that there needs to be some adjustments to either having a bubble play in like that to be able to really determine. Maybe you have some type of play in for the last 2 to 3 spots. I don't know, but
the play in I'm thinking is more of it would be 2 games and you get your spot automatically. So it'd be 11 and 14 play for the 11th spot, 12 and 13 play for the 12th spot. Not necessarily not like a mini bracket within, but either way, that's just a thought of mine because I feel like for the NBA playoffs, it kind of helped some stuff. And then for these colleges, you're getting another game, you're getting more money, and it's a play-in game, not a bowl game. So yada, yada, yada. It's a lot of factors.
All right. Here's my last question before I'm gonna ask this. We're gonna predict who we think is gonna win the playoffs, and then we'll predict the Heisman. Next week we'll have a little more of a breakdown of each game and go from there.
Hey, we could also say prediction for playoffs. So next week, maybe predict some bowl games and playoffs all together.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. All right. So, is there any team that should be pissed about not being a playoff team? Like Logan said, I'm just going to give my answer to it. I think you got the teams who are supposed to be in there right. The seeding could be a little bit off, but I think Vanderbilt, you're missing that signature win. Texas, you got 3 regular season losses. So I think if anybody, maybe BYU does, and Notre Dame too. But again, Notre Dame, that strength of schedule, it's what shot them in the foot. So I think that they put the right people in the game. I don't like the potential from Ole Miss to have 2 rematches in a row, not because of like a familiarity. Oh, it's hard to beat a team twice. It's just like we already saw this. You know what I mean? Like we're looking at 3 potential matchups off the rip with Bama, Oklahoma, Tulane, Ole Miss, and then assuming Ole Miss wins that game, Ole Miss, Georgia. But yeah, so I think maybe BYU is the only person, but I think that they did the right thing as far as putting the correct teams in there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even if, like I was just saying before, even if we extended the playoffs, if we shorten the playoffs again, or however you change it, there's always going to be a handful of teams that can have a case to get in. But if you truly look at what's in front of you on this bracket, it was done correctly at the end of the day. I think that BYU getting blown out in that game is really what cost them, because I think that even if they lost by like a field goal, and I think, Logan, you said this earlier, they lost by a field goal or like even a touchdown, it's really hard to leave them out of one of those last spots. And then you have Miami and Notre Dame sitting out, and they're both crying at home, and there's nothing to – I think Notre Dame is more mad that Miami got in and jumped them in the rank than they are that they didn't get in. That's the way I'm perceiving it, at least. Which, I mean, understandably, they were ranked ahead of them up until – this last week, and then nothing changes between those 2 teams. They both sit at home, and all of a sudden they flip-flop. So I get it, but there's always going to be those teams. I think the approach should always be Clark Lee's approach and say, hey, we were given the chance to prove that we deserved to be in this, and we fell short a couple times. So at the end of the day, it sucks, but if you win just one of those games, nobody's saying you got to have a perfect record. You win one of those games, you're probably in. So I think that there's nothing to change about this bracket at all. Maybe the seeding, like we talked about a little bit, but we're all team-wise. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important part is overall you got the best 4 teams in. And the argument with the playoffs being a 4 seeds is we didn't always feel like we got the best 4 teams in. So the best 4 teams are in. And at the end of the day, the main objective here is getting at least the best 4 or 5 teams, in my opinion. At the end of the day, you would love to see the best 12 teams in, obviously, because it's a 12-team playoff. But it's like you're never going to get it right. You're going to have resume discrepancies. You're going to have there's going to be some things in there that you're always going to be able to argue. But at the end of the day, does anyone truly feel like a top 5 team got left out? Because I don't. I personally don't. Do I think Notre Dame might be a top 10 team? Yeah, but top 5 is in, and at the end of the day, I think that's the absolute most important. But we all know college football has a lot of things they should tweak, and it is what it is. They take their sweet-ass time.
I think the only teams that you could truly say Notre Dame is 100% better than in this playoff is Tulane and JMU. All the other teams would have a very good chance of beating Notre Dame. I think the top 8 to 10 is the true best 10 teams right in college football right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And also, Joey, I guess we can predict 2 games because there are 2 games before we're live again next Tuesday. I forgot bowl games also start Saturday. There's 1 game Saturday. There's Navy Army, and then Boise State plays Washington Saturday, and then there's a Tuesday night game, but we could predict it Tuesday, but while we're live, because it's a 9:00 game, so it's a late Tuesday game.
I was just gonna say let's just do Army Navy because I didn't even know that other one was a game.
Well, yeah, they have it separated on the ESPN calendar. It's very weird how they have it.
First, before we predict that, let's get a Heisman prediction in. So they announced the 4 finalists. Heisman ceremony is this weekend. Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, quarterback from Indiana Fernando Mendoza, quarterback Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt, and Ohio State quarterback Julian Sand. God, this is an absolutely brutal group right here. This is pretty brutal. What I think Jeremiah Love is the best player among these four. I don't think a running back is going to win the Heisman again for a long, long time, unfortunately. So with that being said, I'm trying to think, is that 2013, 2014 class was pretty brutal. I'm about to get them pulled up. Let me type this in. But I think this could sound crazy. Sorry, I'm typing this in. This could sound crazy. I don't think this guy's the best player of these four. I don't think there's a more exciting player, a player that people are going to sit down and watch a game because he's on than than Diego Pavia. I think whether it be him, how eccentric he is, him being very brash, whatever the case, Vanderbilt football is exciting to watch when he's on. And I think Jeremiah Love, again, is the best player. I think Diego Pavia is going to win for that reason.
I'll be honest. I'm going to jump in here because mine's kind of short and sweet. I think Mendoza's going to win, and I think it's going to be kind of like what you see in the NBA sometimes. I think the best player on the best team is going to win. I think it's going to fall into that category because, let's be honest, if Genty or Travis Hunter's in this one, since that was such splitting hairs last year, they're winning it this year. Like, I don't really feel like any of these four are really true Heisman win. Like, this is going to be the worst Heisman we've had in a long time, I think. I don't really think any of these guys blow you out of the water for numbers on the field. They really don't. I just kind of feel like it might end up going to Mendoza because he's the number one team in the country. They just beat the number two team in the country. Or I guess back then they were number one in the country. So I think Mendoza's going to get it, and I solely think that because it's going to be the best player on the best team. But as far as moxie, as far as aura, Pavia's got the brand for sure. But I think Mendoza's the best player on the best team. And everything else is pretty much splitting hairs. None of these guys, like I said, blow you away stats-wise.
Yeah, I'm with you, Logan. I think that Ohio State win really sealed it. I mean, Mendoza is definitely the playing for, like you said, now the number one team in the country. He's the frontline runner for them. I think if Vanderbilt was a playoff team, I could see Diego Pavia doing that and taking it away. I would like to see Jeremiah Love win it just because I truly like when someone other than a quarterback actually wins this trophy. But I saw a stat. So Jeremiah Love finished the season with 1,372 yards on 199 carries. Ashton Genty had more yards than that after contact last year. So anything over 1,000 on the ground in a season for a running back is extremely impressive. I mean, he averaged over 100 yards a game for the amount of games they played. But I think it's more of like it depends because there's so many different personalities that vote for this Heisman that it's like, are they looking at it like Joey? Are they looking at it from a personality standpoint and like who would you rather watch play football? Or are they looking at it as who has carried their team and got them to the point that they're at, like Fernando Mendoza? Or, hey, this class sucks. Let's pick the guy that ran for over 1,000 yards. Let's take Jeremiah Love. So I would like to see Jeremiah Love win it, but I'm with Logan. I think it's Mendoza.
I'm looking at this right here. First off, I hate for this because when they're college players, I don't want to sound like I'm slandering people too much. The idea of Julian saying winning a Heisman absolutely makes me want to throw up.
Anybody who's watching this that is like curious as to why we're saying this about these quarterbacks, like not having these crazy stats, I would encourage you to go look up the last, 5 to 7 quarterbacks to win this award and look at their stats.
Yeah, that for one thing. I'm looking at this. So the 2012 Heisman year Johnny Manziel won the Heisman. Probably pretty clearly should have won it. Let me tell you who number 2 and 3 were. Number 2, Manti Te'o.
Who arguably could have won it. Arguably.
Manti Te'o. And number 3, the guy who went to New York, Colin Klein, quarterback.
Kansas State.
Kansas State.
Colin Klein was good, though. I remember him.
Boy, that is a brutal. Now, I'll see who was good. I'm looking at some of these. He was in a couple of finalists. Jordan Lynch from Northern Illinois. That dude was bad to the bone. He played for Northern Illinois. But
hey, while you're joking, man, if Manti Te'o was in this Heisman class, he would win it this year. I guarantee you.
Manti Te'o should not have won Defensive Player of the Year over Jordan or over Jarvis Jones that year. I will die by that, and that pissed me off the day it happened. I guess that means I was in 11th grade or 10th grade, something like that. I was pissed.
I really think this is going to be the worst Heisman maybe in our lives.
Like Heisman winner.
Yeah, I maybe I misspoke, but yeah, Heisman winner. Like honestly, like I'm looking at these Heisman winners and like definitely the worst Heisman since at least 05, at least 04. Liner was great in 04. Jason White, I will be honest, don't remember Jason White at all.
Oh no, there have been some pretty the worst. This will be the worst Heisman winner since Troy Smith probably.
Was that 99?
2006. That's the quarterback from Ohio State. That's the year they got drugged by Florida in the national championship.
Oh, I was thinking, yeah, okay.
Now, what's his name? Chris Weinke was pretty awful. When you look back at it, Jason White pretty brutal. Here let's not dwell on this any longer. Let's go ahead and pick this.
Can I show Notre Dame one last time?
Sure.
Hey, Notre Dame. Guess what? Tulane's got to win against an 11-2 number 24 North Texas team that is on paper as good as your number 17, 18, whatever they ended up being USC win. But you want to know what the difference is? Their ranked win was in a conference championship. We can continue. Fuck Notre Dame.
All right. Well, one thing we're not going to slander coming up here is the game surrounding our military corps. Shout out to our good brother Joshua Scarborough, the seaman. Yes. And I'll tell you what, the Navy midshipsmen, as they are called on the football field, they're going to run this game. They're 4.5-point favorite. But I don't know if you guys have noticed. What?
Literally run.
No, dead ass.
No, Army's actually, so funny enough, both these quarterbacks have over 1,000 rushing yards on the year. And Army's the run heavy team. They have thrown for 500 yards this season.
Hey, and that's exactly, no offense to Chandler Burks, but that's exactly why he was hired. They're running the same offense there that they were running at Kennesaw State. And I don't mean that derogatory, but literally.
No, I mean, it's just
he's used to it.
That's a pretty fair analysis.
Yeah.
You hired the right personnel for that.
Yeah.
Give me the seaman. Shout out Navy. So loved both our troops in the Army and Marine. I say Army and Marine Corps. They're gonna get so mad at me at the Army Corps and the Navy. But give me the shipsman.
Yeah, I got a good brother of mine that's in the Navy. That's half the reason I'm going to pull for him. But also on top of that, Joey, Army's leading receiver on the season has 350 yards.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
It's pretty impressive. Like
that looks like a Devontae Smith game in the year he won the Heisman.
Yeah, both leading running backs or both leading rushers for both of their seasons come from their quarterbacks. Neither of their running backs are leading the way in those stats, so that's actually insane. Navy's actually not a bad football team, man. I'm gonna take them. Spread is 6. I think they take care of that with ease.
Is it? Oh, I thought it was 4.5. Oh, never mind. I see. Okay, yeah. It opened at 4.5. That's what it is.
Yeah, we're going to triple down. It's going to be a clean sweep here. We're going Navy. My boy Josh is in the middle of the sea somewhere right now directing a plane onto a ship in his air traffic control role. So we're doing it for not only shout out to the troops, but most of all, shout out to our troop, Mr. Scarborough himself. So
hey, I'll tell you what, this game gets me fired up. I'm being so serious. I love watching this game.
Hey, y'all think the fighter jets fly over? The stealth bombers, whatever.
Let me tell you something about that too. That's what I hate about Mercedes-Benz being an indoor stadium. You want to get me fired up? Follow up or fly a plane, a military plane specifically, over a stadium after the national anthem.
Yeah, hey, the stealth bomber has to fly over this game, right?
Dude, that happened at South Carolina, and I felt when I was at a South Carolina game. I think it was for maybe Oklahoma, and I felt like
hair on your neck.
Yeah, I felt it pop up. I thought I was going through like a.
You didn't even have to, you were speechless just talking about it. That's how badass it is.
And they did like out of the scoreboard, they shot red, white, and blue fireworks out. It was incredible.
Oh yeah, can't beat it. It's like
that would get me fired up.
Opening day, fired up every time.
Oof, I'm about to. Why I oughta. So, well, you guys got anything else before we give our listeners their time back?
Yeah, I just want to give Notre Dame one of these.
Yeah, I don't think you've said much about them today.
Hey, Notre Dame, great job on making Texas look like less of crybabies and taking that trophy for the season. If there is one trophy you can take home, it's the biggest crybaby of the season. So good job,
they really cleared Texas's plate on that. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I said last week that that Texas was going to be this year's South Carolina 9-3 school, whining and complaining that they didn't get in. Boy, was I wrong. Notre Dame can cry like no other.
So we'll be back tomorrow with our NFL episode, and then next week we'll preview look at the first round of bowl games, predict the winner, first round of the playoffs. We'll look at some bowl games and see if maybe the transfer portal's heating up. So either way, appreciate everybody being in with us. I should have said this sooner. Our episodes are going to be on audio now. I got it figured out. So of course they'll always be on YouTube for the video version, and then we will also have our episodes on Spotify and Apple. So thank you for your patience. Well, that ain't it. We'll get out of here. Peace.